Hello, everyone. So we are live on Facebook with Rebecca Llewellyn. I hope I don't butcher your name. And as she's sharing on social media, very excited to introduce you to her. Once you've shared, you need to close Facebook so that we don't have the large enough noise. And back to close the page now. Once you've shared, you need to close Facebook.
Okay, 1 second.
So close Facebook.
I'm working on this. Oh,
And
hang on a second. That's the best I can do, I think.
I love Rebecca. I love Rebecca. We haven't met physically, and that's the beauty of the new world we live in, where we have all these incredible connections from a distance. And look at her. Look at her background. Look what's going on. It's quite fantastic. And she came into the last teacher training, sharing herself. Beyond what she was sharing is really her energy, her vibration. You know, we can really feel that right away. You know, the clarity and the authenticity and the, you know, it's a really refreshing approach to the breath. And she has connection to shamanic breathwork, and would be very interested to dive into what's going on for her at the moment, her relation to the breath, and then, yeah, let's flow from there. Rebecca, very happy to connect with you again. How are you?
I'm so good, and thank you so much, brother, for inviting me to share this space with you and to simply bring all the breath and the light that we possibly can from one side of the globe to the other side of the globe, as you're in Bali and I'm here in Canada. So thank you.
Yes, I am a bit jealous. I'd love to jump naked in the snow and in rivers. You know what it takes to make an ice bath in Bali? Yeah, that's very complicated. But before we dive in, guys, it's live. So if you have questions, just don't hesitate to ask Rebecca, and I'll be happy to ask her questions, anything that comes to your mind. Rebecca, what is shamanic breathwork? What is this shamanism? And tell us a little bit about that, just to introduce what you do.
Sure. I mean, I feel like if you were to ask any shamanic practitioner who is also a breathwork practitioner, we'd all have a different variant of what the would be. I can only share with you what shamanic breathwork is for me as a shamanic breathwork practitioner, or a breathwork practitioner who's also a shamanic practitioner. So for me, when I am blending my two modalities and these two medicines together, I'm number one, I'm creating a sacred container. So I open that sacred container. I'll first bring everybody into center and groundedness by burning some medicine, and we'll breathe into that space. And then I'm going to open up the container. I'm going to open up with a prayer. And so different medicine people and different shamanic practitioners and different shamans work with different prayers and different wheels. I don't work, funny enough, I'm wearing the North American medicine wheel, and I work and honor the North American medicine wheel because I do connect with a beautiful medicine woman here near Six Nations, and I'm a sister of the land of the dancing deer. But what the teaching is that I've received from my mentor and teacher is the Andean cross. So I resonate so deeply with the Andean cross. So my prayer is embedded in the Andean cross. So I will call in the directions. I will call in the prayer. I'll call in the shadow teaching. I'll call in the lower realm. I'll call in the upper realm. And so the sacred container is then set. And then we go into the breath. And so, yes, the breath work is still about embodiment and physicality and all the pieces that are coming through the physical, the emotional and mental bodies. But it's very difficult for me to just do that. For the longest time I tried. I thought that's what I was supposed to be. And I really was trying to almost dim my light of who I was. And because I didn't think everybody would be open to it. But the moment I stepped in and I started to blend, I was being asked, Spirit was asking me to bring that, because that's what we're all so unique in what we have to offer, right? And so now when I do a shamanic breathwork ceremony, very often, once the container is open, my channels are open. And so I am, anyone who comes to a breathwork ceremony with me, they know there's no mistake. I am very open about holding the space in that spirit of shamanism. So I am going to be channeling whatever medicine's coming through me, whatever frequencies are coming through me. So people know before they sign up that that is part of my experience. Now, when I work with individual clients, they have the choice if they're booking a session with me to have just a straight breathwork session. And if it's a straight breathwork session, that's exactly what we do. Or if they choose a shamanic breathwork session, a one-on-one experience with me is I actually merge the two modalities, less ceremonial. I mean, yes, I'm still opening with the prayer and closing with the prayer, but I as I bring them to the peak, as we get to the peak, that's where I actually lead them a little bit as breathwork practitioner. They're receiving a lot less cues from me, and I'm actually beginning to merge into their energetic field and doing whatever work I'm being guided to do in terms of supporting them. And if they need to clear anything, if I'm rattling, I might start to purge on their behalf, that sort of thing. So that's how I would answer it. But that's me, and someone else like Steph or Angel might have a different answer for how they bring shamanism into their breath work.
Thank you, Rebecca, for this clear explanation. I'm gonna tell you my take on it, and then I'm curious to see your perspective on how I see it. So I was not spiritual at all until like 4 or 5 years ago. So I had a very pragmatic approach to the breath, scientific approach to the breath, where I wanted to understand what was going on. And from my understanding, we carry the traumas of our parents. You know, whatever you have not resolved is coming. Your parents are passing it on. You are not just coming from nowhere. You are the product of the unresolved issues of your parents. And of course, they are the unresolved result of their parents. Yeah. So for me, first, that idea of connecting to the ancestors makes sense because I want to be able to tap into things that I'm not necessarily being able to be aware of, that I'm not conscious about. So how can I do that consciously? So there is that aspect of, there is so much I know, but there is even more that I'm not able to approach. And if we are really honest about what's going on around us, we cannot explain everything. There is not an explanation for everything that is happening. So we are not just flesh and bones. And, you know, the law of attraction, and, you know, there's tons of things that, you know, are hard to comprehend with just a Cartesian brain. And that whole idea of, okay, surrendering to what I say, what if, you know, I don't know if there is something greater than us, but what if, you know, you know, and I don't have to name it. I don't have to put some concept on it. It's just that, okay, well, there are things that are just seem to be bigger than just what is here in the present. And just the idea of surrendering to the what if is, I find, what shamanism allows you to do. That all of a sudden you get out of the conscious mind that takes a lot of space. I love those, you know, shamanism introduction where you basically, wow, okay, now I'm dropping in. It's kind of a way to drop in and get out of the head and allow yourself to be carried away by those words and reflecting, and just taking a few minutes of, okay, now I'm connecting to the earth. Yeah, I'm connecting to something above me. Okay, now I feel it, the different, and I'm just, this just allows me to just center myself, you know, in a very, you know, non-spiritual way. Just, okay, now I'm taking space and time and allowing the possibilities for things that I don't comprehend completely to happen. And I had profound experiences. Oh, the rain is coming. You might hear the background.
Yeah, grandmother water.
Very heavy. Mother Earth is, or Father Sky is getting activated. So what would you reflect back on that? And I'll mute myself to make sure the sound is good for you guys.
No, it's incredible. I can hear the rain moving through, and 100%, you know, when we allow ourselves, you talked about that sense of centeredness, and that is, you know, shamanism essentially is earth-based wisdom. It's not a religion. It's It's a sense of spirituality that's been here since the beginning of time in all indigenous peoples from across the globe. Like there's no one nation that owns shamanism. But it is essentially an earth-based wisdom, and you've named it right there. It's the connection into knowing that something is greater than us, and then surrendering like the water and trusting that the wisdom is there and that we can receive that. And we've become so mental bodied and so fast paced in this Western way of being. And that concept of centeredness, Alex, it's so funny because for so long I was all about grounding in, got to be grounded, got to be grounded. It's not just being grounded, it's being grounded and centered. And when we look at, the cross in the center of the medicine wheel, we look at, one direction is spirituality, one direction is the emotional body. So you got the spiritual body, emotional body, mental body, physical body. We want to be grounded, but we also want to be in the center of those 4 points. And I do feel that shamanism helps us, that earth-based wisdom of remembering, we're not learning, we're simply remembering of where we came from, and our way of being brings us into this space of being open and trusting. Is it easy? No, because I've been born in North America and all of these things. So I'm constantly, surrendering.
It's interesting because so I'm not religious at all.
Yeah.
But, even if you take the Christian cross,
Yeah.
is that idea that all of a sudden there is, yes, I can have a vertical approach. No, okay, what's my mind communicating to my body, my soul, finding an alignment. And then, am I the future? Am I living in the future? Am I living in the past? And that idea of, okay, I'm at the crossroad of those two. Okay, can I be just now? Can I be in the present? Can I be in the body? Can I bring down? And I feel that all these religions have the same communication. They just have different approaches to it. Unfortunately, they try to tell everyone that they're right. Yeah. So that's where we get wrong. But as long as you stay close to the intention behind those spiritual practices, is kind of the same. And I think what you said is really true. It's not related to one tradition. When you said shamanism or relation to indigenous populations and the way they practice, it's really that idea of being connected between man and man. We call it Trihitakarana in Bali. Connection between man and man, man and nature, and man and God, or man and spirituality. And really, we find that this is really what brings the balance. Is being or the, I don't like balance, but more integration. You are part of the ecosystem, and unfortunately, most of us who are eco-conscious, we say we won't have a minimal impact. We want to tread lightly. Well, I think that this could be misinterpreted. Like, you are part of the ecosystem. You are having an impact in the world. You can't. And once you accept it, well, then you might be mindful of what kind of impact you want to have in that world. I love these all those movies that are My Octopus Teacher. You are not just coming into the ocean. No, you are, as soon as you're there, you are impacting it. So own it. And what kind of impact do you want to have? What is your place in the world? And I find that shamanic practices kind of are a gateway to this kind of practices for non-believers, maybe.
100%. And shamanic practice brings us, it's so important for us to be in that space of humility. And we as human beings, we have been programmed to think we are better than. And so indigenous cultures, especially here in North America, we very often say, all my relations, meaning we are one. Alex, you're my brother. I am your sister. We are family. There is no separation. And in the Andean cross, when we look at the third door, the prayer of that door, the prayer there, the light teaching, is the prayer of unity, of all my relations. There is no separation. We are one. When you hurt, I hurt. We are one, not meaning just human souls, all souls. The animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom. Indigenous people fight for their lands, because when their lands are being ripped away from them or abused and disrespected, they see it the same way they would be, you know, a stranger would be disrespecting their auntie or their grandmother or their mother. And we have lost our concept that we are nature. Just like you said, we are nature. And we think anything less than human is less than us. Now, the shadow teaching in this door is the shadow teaching of ego, of separation, of you're different than me, I'm better than you, I know more than you, you know more than me, judgment, comparison. It's the biggest one for me. I'm in constant state of healing and clearing this separation within myself, our inner and outer mind, and our separation as a collective and amongst humanity and amongst all things. So it's exactly what you just said. And if we could all just endeavor just a little bit to see each other as equal, you know, Indigenous cultures, they sit in circles because there's no hierarchy.
And you know what? I think people are finally getting it. Look what's going on around the world.
Yeah.
You know, someone gets sick in Wuhan, and the rest of the world is catching a cold.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't not see it. And then all of a sudden, regardless of whether you're the president of a country or anyone, you are connected to that virus in the same way, regardless of who you are. And you imagine the level of protection of those guys and how cautious they are. They still get it. So it's fantastic in that sense. And in my trainings, and I'm sure I'm sure you do the same. At the end of any session, we circle and we get to share what happened during the session. And what's incredible is someone would say, "Oh, you know what? This is what happened to me," and starts opening up about some story in their life. Whatever the story is, 100% of the time you'll have someone, if not everyone, that says, "Oh my God, this is my story that you're telling right now." So really that concept of we are one is a very tangible one. You know, we all share the same trauma. We all have the same trauma. We all have the same superpower. The trauma that we share is that when we were a kid, we had to compromise on our identity in order to please our parents. If I'm not a good boy, mommy is not going to feed me. So I'm not going to be myself. I'm not going to do what I want. I'm not going to say what I want to say because mommy is not going to be happy with me. So I'm not in integrity with myself because I have to honor mommy before I honor myself or daddy. Otherwise, I'm not going to get that. So we share that trauma. And we all share the power of being vulnerable. Once I open my heart and I allow myself to be vulnerable, I allow yourself to do the same. And when we do that, of course, we operate heart to heart. And that's where the true connection happens. When we go beyond the concepts and the stories, when we just drop in. And when we are operating at that level, then there is no space for ego, as Wim Hof like to say, it's we go. And it's a beautiful way to go about it. So well done. And thank you for what you bring with all that in the world.
Well, thank you. Coming back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, go ahead.
No, you go.
Going back to the circle, there's so I support a Mohawk medicine woman in this beautiful project here in Southern Ontario called Land of the Dancing Deer. And the Mohawk medicine woman who received the original teachings for this land, she's the one who reminded me, you know, we'd be in a meeting, be in a council meeting, and she would say, "Well, Rebecca, what do you think?" And I was like, "Oh, I so respect the elder," right? So I was staying quiet for a very long time, and finally found my voice because she reminded me that when we're in circle like this, whether it's a small circle, whether it's a breathwork circle, whatever it is, to really pay attention, whatever we've received, and when the circle is open for the sharing or for opinions or thoughts or comments, to to never underestimate that what you've received, whether it was a download, whether it was a frustration, whether it's just a thought or an idea, never assume it is just for you, because very often you've received something that could be very well for other souls in that circle. But then also to listen to your discernment, because you may have received something and it's like, oh, I got to share it, but also feel into it, because sometimes you're gifted that, but we need to sit on that for a little while. We need to really embody it for a little bit before, percolate it, before we can share it.
Thank you. So I do what I do because I need it the most. I have, plenty of unresolved issues. I have health issues. So I feel that, that journey came from a need to resolve myself. I'm wondering about your own life, Rebecca, of what all this practice come from, and also how it has impacted your personal life.
Ooh, loaded questions, double duty questions. So do you want me to talk about breathwork or shamanism?
I'll let you go.
Well, shamanism was sort of the natural progression for me. I'd been working sort of in the upper realm for a long time, and I'd been praying for a teacher. But I was always afraid of shamanism because I had a preconceived notion. But the power of prayer is pretty potent. And if you can unload the word, because there's a lot of energy around that language, and maybe flip that word to be the power of intention, when we get really clear with it, it's like pulling an arrow back, and doom, we receive, right? So deeply. So I received, my teacher came through a dream. I reached out to him. And then the moment I said yes to the path of shamanism, everything just kind of went 1,000-fold for me. All of my channels, what I was receiving, but at the same time, I also this path is a challenging one. All your foundations get everything that you've been taught and socialized with will be questioned. It will bring you down to your knees, down to the fact that, I have a husband. Can I be married and be on this path? Because it makes me question everything, right? So there were some deep initiations for me as I went on to this path. And there still continues to be, but it's changed my life 150,000%. And it's incredible. I've never felt I have such a team on the other side, whereas before I might have felt lonely at times, right? Because you're working with other dimensions and whatnot. Now, fast forward to the moment breath work was introduced to me. And the first time I did breath work, I hated it. It was really hard. I had a really hard time staying in the body. I'm very easy. I can move out. So I had a hard time embodying the physical sensation. Where some people experience tetany, I was experiencing nausea. So probably 6 or 7 sessions before I moved through that nausea. But then when I really started to commit to breath, my shamanism and my breath work went like this. Like they went like this. So my breath works became shamanic journeys. And so I'd be breathing, but my power animal would show up. And all of these things were happening to me. So I knew I wanted to learn this medicine, this practice, because I felt that this could be something I could offer people like you who are not ready to step into a spiritual path yet, knowing that breath work will eventually lead you there. But everybody understands breath is good for you. Breath helps us regulate. There's the science and physiology behind it. People can get behind that and they can understand that regardless of their faith, their nation, their culture, they can understand breath work. So that was sort of like the beginning of me going, yes, I want to bring breath into my toolbox. But like you, I had a physical issue. Like I had a significant, I've had polycystic ovarian syndrome for all my life. I'd had one surgery in 2014. but I try to work everything naturopathically, and I do a lot of Eastern medicine as well, acupuncture, herbs, all of those things before I actually work with Western medicine. I knew this was 4 years later, and I knew I was in a lot of pain, and I knew something was up, but I was avoiding I didn't want to go to the doctor because I knew what they were going to say, surgery. It was through breath work that I was shown everything. I was shown the age it began for me. I was 12 years old. They showed me why. This is all my power animal through breath work, through conscious connected breath. They showed me I had layers and layers of endometriosis. They showed me every layer, they showed me everything. So here I was in a very embodied state, very very uncomfortable to breathe because I had so much pathology in my abdomen, but I was also up here at the same time and receiving all of the wisdom, the emotional wisdom of what had taken place for the physical manifestation to happen. And then I was getting the spiritual, okay, don't worry, Rebecca, we're going to take care of the emotional roots for you. Da, 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 da. They do all their business. Then they showed me what had to happen now for the physical issue to be released. So I agreed through breath work, I agreed to go see the surgeon, told him, he said, no problem, everything will be fine. We're just going to remove all these cysts. But I knew 6 months prior, because I'd already seen all this, I'm like, okay. So I said, yes, I don't agree to surgery lightly, but I was in a lot of pain. And, before I got wheeled into surgery, the surgeon came in again. He's very conservative. Don't worry, Rebecca, we're going to keep everything. We're just removing some cysts. And I kind of said to him a few things. I was like, check here, check here, check here. I had some key points, and he's looking at me like I'm total crazy. Sure enough, everywhere I told him to look, he had to remove pathology. And sure enough, everything I had told him that he would have to remove my left ovary and my left fallopian tube, he did. And I haven't had any pain since. So that was the marriage of breathwork and shamanism in my own personal life.
Rebecca, thank you for this vulnerable share. I would like maybe for you to respond to that. Some people, including myself, believe that the body is communicating to you, and whatever symptom is coming up is somehow a communication of something that you haven't dealt with, or something that needs to be addressed. So instead of being, angry with this body that is not behaving the way you want, or that is coming up, it's not my cancer, it's doctor's cancer, and we just let someone else, an authority, usually a doctor, to be empowered with our own bodies, and I'm really worried about what's going on around the world, because we tend to be okay with not owning our body. If someone can make sure that I stay healthy, okay, I'm happy to surrender my freedom. And I think that we're going in a very dangerous. Our brains are already owned by Facebook. Now we're gonna give our body, and because we want to be healthy, if someone can monitor all the time what's going on, I will be happy, because I'm scared of what could happen. And so I'm very worried about that. And I'm wondering whether you went on that journey with your cysts and what was communicating to you through these issues, and basically what was the body telling you, and whether you approached that.
The reason I said yes to the Western medicine is because of everything the body was telling me, and being able to heal the emotional roots. And I do feel like when we can use these natural medicines, such as breath work, to connect in and heal and release the emotional roots, when we have a physical manifestation that then needs to be addressed, once we've addressed the emotional roots and felt that clearing take place, that's when I think there's a nice marriage with the Western medicine. So for me, it was all about unconditional love. And it was going back to when my mom left my family. It was so profound. and how one moment in our life gets, right, suppressed into the body. And then it showed me layer after layer, this, you know, this, the moment after that, and then the moment and the relation after that. You know, there was all these men involved, because for me it was the unconditional love, and then seeking for that elsewhere from other people. And so that's the beauty of when we begin to breathe, it provides us the space to feel into whatever that story or wound or trauma is that we've been carrying in the body. And the way I see the story or the wound or the trauma, it's a frequency. There's no sliding scale as one trauma is worse than the other trauma. It's a frequency. So whether you were a baby and somebody got angry at you, or whether you were in a car accident, it's not like out of 10 you get this. It's a frequency, it's an energy, it's a feeling that as a practitioner I can feel into, and we can feel into our body. And that's when we would say shamanically, a part of us leaves, a soul fragment leaves. When something happens to us, part of us actually leaves. And so a shaman will do a soul retrieval to bring parts of you back. And very often in breathwork, I'm doing basically pseudo soul retrievals as parts of the are coming back home. But they're doing the work. The client is doing the work because they see it.
Yeah, you're really just holding that space for them to do the work.
100%.
It's interesting. It's really that idea that once you had awareness of where the imbalance was coming from, the emotional aspect of it that you described with your mother, then only there was space for profound healing at the root, not just the symptom, which was a cyst, but to go, and then that's, your body's happy because you've become aware of it. And that's really what all the body was trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
And it's, and I like that idea of, you know, you talked about unconditional love, and I guess that's the idea of law of attraction, is you need to give what you want to receive. And if you were not being able to give it to yourself, then, you know, that's where you start with. And when you are getting to that space where you can love your body, and that's often what people struggle with. When I say love your body, is not being happy with your curves. No, it's being happy with whatever imbalance is showing up in the body. And instead of being disassociated with ourselves and says, oh my God, I would want my body to be different, healthier maybe. Then when we let go of that and we accept the body the way it is, and we just have love for ourselves, then all of a sudden things start to open up. But it really comes from that space of appreciating and loving ourselves, whatever is there.
Well, and coming back to shamanism, coming back to the Andean cross, the fourth door, that's the prayer. It's the fourth door, the element is Mother Earth, because she shows us compassion. Regardless of how we treat her, lifetime after lifetime, she welcomes us back into the earth to become absorbed by her. And her prayer is unconditional love. Because truly, she teaches us how to love ourselves. Because how can we love another soul, let alone another human, another soul, another plant? Like, if we can't even remotely like who we are, body aside, if we're not comfortable with our own company and like who we are, how can we unconditionally, compassionately love our neighbor?
Exactly. It comes, and that's why the COVID is such a great thing. We are stuck at home. You have to do, you know, you
have to do your work.
You know,
you're forced to do our work.
Exactly. Stay with the trigger. You're annoyed by your kids or your partner. Great. You know, instead of avoiding for all your life, you have an opportunity to, you know, work on that connection. So if we start appreciating what we have rather than expect things to be different than what they are, then things come into
So
play
true.
easier. It's really your relation to the situation that matters.
100%. Yeah.
Rebecca, tell us a little bit about how can we work with you? What's going on with you, and how can we support you?
Oh, that's a great question. I love it. I'm actually launching, I'm launching a course February 16th. It's called the Rooted in Journey. It's a 10-month course. And this course is really a two-prong approach. It is, I do my weekly breath work on Wednesday nights. It's not Valley time. It's 8 p.m. EST. So it would be early morning. And that's a group ceremony that I have every Wednesday. But this course it's kind of fun. Every month, so we'll connect twice a month. Every month there's a wisdom teaching. So one month we may be working on the 4 directions and really deepening that. Every month I want the students, the participants, to come away feeling their toolbox with new ways to create their own personal practice, their own personal and spiritual foundation. A lot of people are, especially now, are wanting to, they know something bigger is out there. They know they have access to something bigger, but they don't know where to start. And I just keep going back to remembering myself when I was first on this journey. So it really is about building that. And then once a month, we'll be doing a communion and healing ceremony. So whether it's sacred sound, whether it's tapping, breath work. So I've created so it's myself doing the bulk of the wisdom teachings, but I also have a team of practitioners who are coming on board to support me. So I've got, I think, 3 breathwork practitioners. I have an amazing tapping master healer. I've got a medical intuitive. I have a galactic shaman. I have a beautiful Anishinaabe, Ojibwe medicine woman who I'm really excited for her to be part of this. She'll be in one of the months, and it's really about sharing shamanic hygiene, how to clear ourselves and take care of ourselves energetically, but most importantly, with so many of us having access to many indigenous ways and traditions, how to ensure, if we're using indigenous traditions or medicines, that we're not misappropriating and we're using them in the most honorable and respectful way. So that's happening starting February 16th, and that's a 10-month journey. So it's really about bringing like-minded souls to grow together and be in conversation in that growth pattern. And then I do have a 4-month one-on-one immersion, which is a very deep dive for the soul who wants to like really commit. It's with me every week for an hour and a half. And again, we're doing wisdom teachings, all of my modalities. We're working on their personal practice. At the same time, we're peeling away layers to help us release some of that programming. And then I also have a team of practitioners to add on to, so they kind of get this massive acceleration of growth. So you can find me on Instagram or email or Facebook.
And everything will be written above, but just under which brand, which name on social media?
On social media, it's Your Divine Roots. My website is yourdivineroots.com. My brand is Divine Roots, but somebody else already had that. So, you have to like squeeze in the your.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And for having attended just, shamanic breathwork sessions with you, I highly recommend to everyone to join. Is your how do we join the weekly session? I guess that would be probably the point to start.
I have that. It's in my it's if you follow me on Instagram, it's always updated in my bio, in the link in bio, and then it's always on my website under events.
Cool. And I will put to that. And it's a new link every week, or it's the same
new link every week. New link every week.
Yeah,
I got to get better at that.
Okay, you're doing great. On that journey. Well, thank you, Rebecca, so much. Is there anything you'd like to share that we haven't touched?
No, I just, I think if anything, I think you touched on it, that, we're in this global ceremony called COVID. I don't use the word very often because it has a frequency, and people are feeling into it, and there's a lot of fear associated. There's a lot of stuff associated with this word now, but we're in this ceremony globally. We're all experiencing it differently, but we're also experiencing it collectively. And all I can say is this is our biggest mission yet as humanity. And if we can see that we're being given the gift to go inwards, we're being given the gift to really connect to our personal truths, regardless of whether you have a spiritual sense or no, this is our opportunity we have a do-over in every level. And I just invite everybody to just grab that opportunity.
Yes, one of my mentors is Dr. Mark Cohen, and some people say that the universe is working against you. Others are saying that the universe is working for you. I don't think one is true or the other is true. I just think the universe is doing what it's doing. But you have a choice. You can either say, oh my God, everything is against me, I'm not lucky, I lose my job, blah, blah, blah. Or you can choose that everything is amazing. And that's your responsibility.
Yeah.
So, it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it is what it is. But once you change your mindset to the situation, whatever situation is, my wife is cheating on me, I've lost my job, whatever it is, once you step into, oh my God, this is amazing, and then you continue the sentence, what is the opportunity that lies below? What it is that I'm not seeing right now in the dark when everything seems like, why, how could that be good? I'm sick. Blah, blah. If you're able to find the space to see what is going on underneath the trigger or whatever it is, then that's the path. And then all of a sudden, wow, things start shifting like magic around you. And it is really it's very simple, but it's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
Because we have layers of conditioning, and really what we both do with these breathing practices, that's all it is. It's just ways to let go of those layers of conditioning so you can go to your truth. And really, there are plenty of ways to get there. Like plenty of avenues, plenty of modalities, yoga, qigong, meditation, and tons of breathing practices. But at the end, we all go to the same place. It's okay, finding the space to go within, to find the answers you've been looking outside, and that, of course, I never found. So thank you for all your wisdom, and I'm excited. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex. I also lead breathwork teacher trainings. That's all I do for the moment, and I support my students. So if you're looking for individual sessions, happy to connect you with them. And if you're in for a 6 weeks deep dive within yourself with incredible coaches and mentors, well, happily connect with me or check my website, breathingcoldbali.com, where you find all the information. All right.
Thank you so much.
Let's take 3 breaths together to close, Rebecca. So thank you so much. And I just want you guys to always do that. We finish something energetically, just don't rush to the next thing. Just take a few breaths. Just, how does that sink in? Just let it get in. That's everyone. Inhale and let it go. Inhale and out. And one last time. Inhale and let it go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much. Happy Monday.